Hope is being able to see that there is light despite all of the darkness. Today's reading of the budget offered very little hope to the people of Bermuda. In fact, it gives people the opposite. Will there ever be a light at the end of the tunnel where the economy is concerned? Firstly, in our opinion, the Premier did not deliver a budget for the people, but instead delivered an election budget, full of promises, but really nothing for us to believe that better days are truly coming. Premier Burt and the Progressive Labour Party are not in touch with reality. How can the government believe that the economy is fine while people are continuing to struggle to survive and many continue to leave the island on a regular basis? It's easy for Premier Burt to make numbers appear positive when comparing them to those accrued during the COVID period. Saying everything is fine does not make it so. It shows the people of Bermuda how tone deaf the Premier is to their issues. We are well past the time of believing anything he says. The PLP government seems proud of its failings. It has not executed the first economic recovery plan. Instead, they're trying to fix it. It's now trying to create a second one. It doesn't make sense. You can't deliver on the initial one. Why would we believe they will deliver on a revised one? The PLP did not offer much for economic recovery. Instead, it's spending a lot of time rehashing old initiatives. How much longer can Premier Burt hide behind the excuses that he is still formulating a plan? It feels like a government is seeking to take credit for the successes of international business. Bermuda should remain reserved where digital assets are concerned. They are in competition with traditional local financial institutions. We should still be careful about alienating the Bermuda financial community. The PLP is woefully inadequate, and Bermuda will continue to suffer until there is a change in government. To date, Premier Burt's promises regarding the Fairmont Southampton has not been delivered. Morgan's Point, the new initiative, is a pipe dream. Let's grow the economy first, and then clearly identify alternatives. The PLP does not seem to care about the health and well-being of the people of Bermuda. There was no mention of healthcare reform. There's very little help for people in need of social services here in Bermuda. There is minimal to support the aging population, and we didn't hear anything around the school environment and how we are going to support our teachers and support services. There's nothing that speaks to the thousands of people who left Bermuda, who left there, who felt there was no hope for them on the island. What hope do we have for Bermuda? And as it's been said before, by a very articulate young Bermudian, Miss Mackenzie Tuckett, the national strategy is not working, and so young, educated Bermudians are not interested in returning home. Where is the hope for people? Where is the hope for Bermuda? There doesn't seem to be much, and for this, the PLP simply cannot be proud. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Simons.
Good afternoon, Jess.
So the Premier made some changes to payroll taxation affecting businesses.
Yes.
I wondered what your thoughts were on that.
Basically, what he's done, he's provided support for the employers, but the employees, because the payroll tax is two sections, the employer portion and employee section. And so he has increased the employee section and provided support to the employer section. So the businesses have received no increases in their portion of the payroll tax.
In the pre-budget report, the Premier had pledged to reduce payroll taxation on those earning under 48,000, but that was not met. Did that surprise you at all?
Again, can we believe in the commitments made by this Premier? He said historically that we'll have the Southampton Princess open. It's not open. He hasn't delivered on the final contract. So if he can't commit there and other issues, how can we believe what he's saying is going to be credible? And how can we expect that everything he says will be delivered?
Do you think it's a possibility in future that that promise can be kept?
Why not do now? He gave a prelude to it in the pre-budget statement. Why didn't he do it this time? Again, a broken promise.
And there was also mention of changes to the casino, the act affecting casinos. That was tabled under the OBA government, and that's going to be changed to be a bit more business friendly by the sounds of it. I wonder what your thought was on that.
The problems facing gaming still persist. What they've done is basically to try and take it out of the hospitality area, out of the hotels, and have it a standalone type casino. The challenge is the same. The banking, what model will they use? Because he said, there'll be a paperless game. And then the other question is, who's going to manage it? Who's going to control this independent Monte Carlo type gaming facility?
Are there any regrets for it being tabled to include only resort properties in terms of creating casino industry?
The regret is, as a member of parliament and as a former cabinet minister, David has compromised our reputation in that he has made commitments to our hotel partners who have invested millions in this country and again has not delivered. And he knows what is required for the gaming industry to proceed. But for some reason, he's sticking his heels in and keeping on his path instead of listening to the bankers and listening to the developers and the hotel people who are challenged because of the hurdles that they confront. And after 5-6 years, they're no closer to having a gaming. Look at Hampton Princess. All the work that they did, and they got frustrated and withdrew their application.
And just lastly, before I turn it over to Sean, it looks likely that global minimum taxation will be implemented here. Are you at all concerned for potential businesses leaving the island?
Not really, because it's a global taxation. I think we would have to be more competitive as a jurisdiction. We have to up our game, and we have to be more efficient in managing our taxation procedures. The accounts receivable, as an example, we have 315 million. If we can get that right, how can we have a new system of income tax, basically, because tax harmonization is income tax? How can we feel confident that we'll get that right, because that is more complex and more detailed?
Thank you.
Hello,
Sir, how are you?
Raising the tax cap to $1 million, do you think that's going to scare away some investors and make some companies redeploy or send workers elsewhere?
That's a possibility, quite frankly, because we met with ABER and we met with ABIC, and their primary issue as far as their members are concerned is the cost of doing business in this country. And we have to address that if we are to remain competitive. Let me tell you a story. In preparation for the ABER meeting, I went to their website, and ABER has 87,000 employees worldwide. 35,000 are in the US, 33,000 are in Asia and Oceania, about 8,000 are in the UK, about 5,000 in Singapore, and how many in Bermuda? 1,500. And these are Bermuda-based companies.
Okay. The fact that government didn't follow through on the suggestions in the pre-budget report to cut payroll tax to zero for the first 48,000, do you think that indicates that Mr. Burt has backed down in the face of backlash from big business?
I think that could be a possibility. Yes, you're right. But I also take the view that he overpromised. And when he rolled up his sleeves and did the numbers, he found that he couldn't afford to provide that option to those people earning less than $48,000.
Do you think he's been a bit cruel to the low paid, like seeming to suggest that this could happen and then it doesn't?
As I said, is he a man of his word?
Amen.
On Morgan's point, though, would you agree that they are clearing up the OBA mess?
No,
Why not?
because number one, they haven't started anything, quite frankly.
Exactly.
And again, it's an aspiration and it is a diversion. Did he say in his speech when he's going to consider beginning their project? And when was the completion date? No mention of it in his presentation. So it's floating another balloon, feel-good issue as far as the community is concerned, makes them feel good. And that leads to our thought that it's an election budget. There's a vision that he's putting out there that the Bermudans can buy into, and yet at the end of the day, is he able to deliver? And historically, he has not been able to deliver, and his economic recovery plan enforces that.
This is the second year in a row that you said it's an election budget. Where is the election? And you say that David Burt offers little hope. What do you say to people who think that at the next election you've got no hope?
David Burt's election was last year's election budget. It was an election budget to allow David Burt to remain on as premier. And that's what we meant by an election
This is
budget.
the big one.
Bingo.
Finally, on casinos, it's been 9 years and we still don't have a casino. Do you think these reforms announced today go far enough to affect that? And if not, what would you do that they're not doing to get casinos?
As I said to Jasmine, the fundamental problems of gaming in this country have not changed. The banking infrastructure is not in place to support it. The banks have said their correspondent banks are not comfortable with banking this proceeds from the industry until certain conditions are met. You are aware of them because I read them in your article that you wrote a couple of days ago.
But what would you actually specifically do that they're not doing so that
I would shift the responsibility of gaming away from the Minister of Finance and the Premier. That's what they're asking for. In no country around this world, and especially G20 countries, a Premier is not responsible for gaming industry.
Okay, thank you very much.
If I may add one question, do you support the introduction of specialty bags to handle gaming the industry?
Actually, you know what? I reserve judgment on that because I would like to have more details. So I'm not going to rule that out because he spoke about different classifications of banks. And as a former banker, as you know, I'm open to competition, but I'd like to see the details, how they capitalize, what their mandate will be, the scale of their customer base, and so forth. So I'm going to reserve judgment on that.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.